So December 2nd, 2024, I had an accident outside of work that impacted me at work and at home as well. I was in a wreck, side-by-side accident. I was going 60 to 70 miles an hour down the highway, no seatbelt on. Ball joint broke on my front passenger tire, and when it broke, it took me into a guardrail and I got ejected. I was able to call my wife and let her know what happened, that I was on the side of the road, and I didn't know what all was wrong with me. Luckily, I had on a hoodie that took most of the road rash. There was still some on me. Best of my knowledge, what I can figure out what happened is when I landed, I got ejected through the windshield, and I landed with my hand on my chest. And so all my hand was just nothing but road rash. And at that point, it had ripped my entire hand open all the way up to my thumbnail. My thumbnail was gone, half my index finger was gone, and all this was just blood and nasty. I mean, at one point, I had to take my belt off. Thank Miss Joy for watching this. I appreciate your tourniquet training. I was able to take my belt off and use my belt as a tourniquet until my wife or the ambulance got there. They were able to find my finger, and I remember being in the back of the ambulance trying to attach my finger back to my hand, and it was surreal to hold a piece of your body not connected anymore. At the time, I was a Super Crimp lead rigger. I worked so hard to get that job. I loved what I did, and I loved the guys that I did it with, and created a real good life for me and my family. I stayed in the hospital for 4 days, and everything that's on my hand that's a scar now, it's synthetic skin. It's not real skin. It's a man-made substance that I didn't think that it was going to work. I thought they were going to have to do a skin graft, but I had so much road rash that they didn't feel like it was going to be all right to take any more skin off my body and to close that up. So after all the surgeries and getting my hand halfway normal, the healing process started to begin. It was a long road. I was off work for 3 months. I had to learn how to reuse my hand. I had to go to physical therapy 3 times a week in Tyler, and it was the easiest things that we take for granted. One of the goals that I had set, and it sounds silly, but it was to tie a trash bag. You don't realize how much you use one of your fingers until it's not there anymore. And through all the surgeries and all the swelling and the pain and all that, not being able to touch your fingers together, it makes it almost impossible to tie something with one hand. Like I said, it was a long road, but through physical therapy and the grace of God letting me survive this, I was able to come back to work. And not only did I come back to work, I went back to lead rigging on Super Crimp, something that I'm proud of, and I overcame a situation that most people would look at and say, I want off the rigging table. I was able to use that and not let it defeat me. But probably during that experience, the hardest thing that I had to go through was to have the two little boys in my life, Landon and Cannon, my children. I couldn't play with them. I couldn't pick them up. I know if anybody else is like me, their daddy is their superhero, and mine still is. Not being able to pick them up and play with them, that that took a toll, and it takes you to some dark places, depression and, anxiety about not knowing what's going to happen, and all the battles that people don't speak about that happen when you're going through things like this. It's very real, and today I work just like anybody else who has 10 fingers. I know I catch a lot of jokes about having 9 fingers, and everybody can count to 10 but me, and I just count one finger twice. That's it now. But I'm not going to say that I'm glad that it happened to me, but it definitely humbled me and made me think about what I do before I do it. Funny story about one time, Tommy Taylor, when he was my supervisor, asked me for a pair of gloves, and I told him there's a pair in my locker, and you always know when it's my gloves because I don't just leave the finger out because it gets in the way. I'd always push it in, and to see the look on Tommy Taylor's face trying to figure out how to put that glove on his hand was something pretty funny.